Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Chelsea Fan TV for your lunchtime daily stream. I'm Nina, and I'm joined by Ziad today as we take you through the latest. There's not really much going on at the moment, and obviously, we didn't play this weekend, so no football to talk about either. But there are some sort of discussion surrounding certain AC Milan players that may be linked to Chelsea, and of course, one of our own, shall we call him, Joao Felix, and he has sparked a little bit of discussion. A lot of Milan fans seem to be quite unhappy. Chelsea fans are unhappy. What is it with Joao Felix and his loan spells, or just his time in general at clubs? But for those of you who are joining, guys, make sure you smash the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already, and get involved in the chat. Let us know your thoughts. Ziad, mate, how are you? How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm living the dream because Chelsea are not playing.
Not
So
a bad weekend then,
not a
yeah.
bad weekend. Chelsea not making us all rage and pull our hairs out. But yeah, apart from that, it's good. It's good. Make sure I like and subscribing, people.
Yeah.
Felix, should we get straight into it, Felix?
Let's get straight into it, mate. Talk to me, Felix.
Felix is my favorite Chelsea player, so it's not great for a lot of people that hate him because a
Uh,
lot of Chelsea fans are not a fan of him. They don't like him. They think he's just a little flair cage football player. Um, some people are writing him off already. The guy's still 25. He's only 25. We're gonna act like
mm,
25 is old. 25 is quite young actually. He's just been around for a very long time.
nice.
Um, it's clearly Maresca doesn't rate him. I think because he got the odd Premier League game in the Premier League. Obviously, he played the Conference League. But you go back to the way Maresca was building his team. He didn't really give anyone a chance in that 10 apart from Palmer. He had his Palmer and Enzo that he stuck by. And Nkunku never plays there. Felix never played there when he was here. So it was a bit unfair on him. But listen, he doesn't get a lot of chances. Felix. He's gone to AC Milan. I don't watch any AC Milan games. I watch a couple. He does a couple flair moments is what he does. But apparently
Mm,
it's been a flop. And Leao interest, and so people were thinking, yeah, swap them, do a swap. Well, you can't swap them if AC Milan don't want Felix anymore, so that's gone out the window. But listen, bring Felix back home, bring him back to Chelsea. I was over the moon when he came back. I hated it when he left, when he had his first loan spell. That first loan spell was good. He's a freedom player. Just give him a freedom. I think when you try to fit him into a certain system and expect him to do certain things, you limit him. And I think people need to realize that there's not a lot of players like Felix out there in terms of just get him out there and get him on the ball. Literally get him
mm,
on the ball. Right now, the football nowadays is a lot about system and tactics and way of playing and applying yourself to against our opposition and whatnot. Whereas I think Felix is a rare player where literally just put him out there, play him in a position he's comfortable, and he will do things. We saw a couple of times even for Chelsea, he came off the bench and he was, he was taking on players in the 10, and he was linking up play, things that you don't see a lot of players do. But it probably is gonna end up leaving again, probably, even though he signed a long-term contract. We've seen that a lot. That even though you signed a long-term contract at Chelsea, it doesn't really mean anything. It doesn't really
mm.
mean anything. Chalobah signed a long-term contract, they went on loan, so it doesn't really mean anything. But the fan base, I can name a couple people that I know of that really rate Felix and want him to stay. But listen, you can't compare him to players nowadays because they're just different. Compare him to Palmer, which I've spoken about multiple times. I think Felix, the way he offers more than 10 more than Palmer does. I said it before and I'll say it again.
Really?
Oh yeah, I said it before, I'll say it again. I think especially in this system, this specific system with Maresca, I think Palmer is too limited. He's too restricted. He hasn't got the flair that Felix has to go in and out in between the lines and link up play and attract defenders. Palmer isn't really that kind of 10. Um, but at the end of the day, you see even in Kunku, I would have played in Kunku there, but Palmer's been playing there, and he's got his role. Will Felix come back and then get more of a chance? I don't think so, especially if Maresca's still here. I mean, Maresca says a lot of nice comments about Felix, about he's he's the reason fans come and pay to watch, but clearly not. Clearly not if you're ever playing game and you give him the odd game. But yeah, I don't think people fancy the way he plays. They don't like the way he conducts himself maybe on the pitch. He's too tricky and flary and not enough output, which is fair enough. I think if you're going to be playing in a 10 position, you need a better output, which I can agree on. His finishing is probably not the best. But yeah, apart from that, I don't see him coming back. I don't know what we're going to do with him, even though I want him to stay. But as long as Maresca is our manager, I don't see why anything will change for Maresca. Why would he change his mind? Is he going to all of a sudden start playing Palmer as a right winger and using Nkunku and Felix in the 10? What, mate? You had all season to do that. What made you change your mind?
I mean, it's interesting because you mentioned Flair about 3 times there, because I was just listening out, and output just once, and you said he doesn't have it. And I think that is exactly what every Chelsea fan's problem is with Joao Felix, because he's a techie player. He does the cool tricks and flicks. He can, do his step overs and mega player. But then when it comes to that kind of final clinical finish, there's so many. And we even saw him in the cup games or the Conference League, where that final end product just isn't there, and he can frustrate you so much. He's really good at doing that. And I think in the Premier League especially, you've got those players that can do your cool tricks and flicks and flair. And I know you say there's not many like him, but actually, I think there is, and they have something one up more than Joao Felix does, that end product and the clinical finishing. And I know you can talk about him in the 10 role. Yes, he can create. He's creative. But again, I think you're looking for a player at Chelsea right now. If you look at our front line, and yes, it has kind of progressively declined because we had more goals from our wingers and, Palmer was scoring goals, etc. Now that that's declined a little bit, you're looking at players and you want to make additions that are going to be clinical, that can do the cool techers and flair part you talk about, but also finish the chances that they create or finish the chances that are created by other players. And I think that Joao Felix struggles with that massively. And I think, again, it's the inconsistency. And I've always wondered, because I used to call for Joao Felix to get more minutes, certainly. And then I realised that maybe actually Maresca could be right in the fact that he expects a lot more from players that will play in that position. And again, we saw that Nkunku doesn't necessarily. And I think with Nkunku, it's a different problem because they're different players. I think Nkunku, I don't trust him so much in a 10 role because I think he concedes possession too easily as opposed to a Palmer. That's why I wouldn't replace him there as opposed to Palmer. And maybe he is better suited to the wing, certainly not up top. But with Felix, it's he lacks that end product, and that is really, really frustrating. And I think that's exactly what, bringing him a second time back at Chelsea, it kind of makes you realise that you kind of were right first time. I don't hate the player. I think he actually has been quite unlucky in his career. And I mean, I imagine it's difficult for any player to have to move every 6 months and not really settle in their life in any way and be moving across to Portugal, Spain and England and Italy and all around. It's difficult, but I'm just looking at our Chelsea team right now, and I don't think, I'm crying because Joao Felix is missing there. I think he's a great bench option, certainly. I think we miss him on the bench just as someone who can come on and maybe change things up late in a game, take risks, try and, I don't know, do something a little bit different, take on a player, because he doesn't care. He knows he doesn't get minutes, so he'll come on and he'll do that. But is he a player that you look at Chelsea right now and you think, yeah, he's missing in that team right now?
Possibly, yeah. In our current team, I mean, you know what? I think as well. To be fair, he's a bit unlucky in terms of, because Enzo Fernandez has been playing in that kind of role where he may be playing. In terms of Enzo Fernandez had more of a very advanced role this season, and Enzo Fernandez has been great. So you can't really bet Enzo Fernandez. So I think the system itself, it's like when you've got players playing in those positions, like Palmer, whether he's been doing good or not, which he hasn't been doing good, especially in the system, he's not getting dropped. And you've got the guy next to him, Enzo Fernandez, who can't get dropped because he's playing very well. But I think with Felix, it's probably similar to what we're saying with Neto in terms of, I think for someone that wants to always link up play and wants to quick plays and 1-2s and get inside the 18-yard box quickly and whatnot, I think you need a striker to help him with that. You need a target man. You need someone to support him. I think with Neto, we're saying, look how great his crosses are. And he's taken on a couple of players. He's crossing it to Sancho. I think that's one thing we also like, and something that would help a lot of our players, Felix included, and Neto. Can you imagine a target man dragging away all the defenders and having space for Felix to run in or link up play with the other wingers and whatnot? Whereas now, a lot of our players, especially when Felix was playing, they all want the ball to feet. Everyone wants the ball to feet, and then you've got all your attackers wanting the ball to feet. It makes it very easy for the opposing team to defend you. Very easy. But listen, I see where you're coming from. Like he can be a frustrating player that sometimes, like someone mentioned it in the chat, like he does skills when you don't need to do a skill in the halfway line. Like you really don't. Okay, we get it. You're a tricky player, your flair. Just don't do it in the halfway line. You know. I think he has his moments, but at the same time, I said this about Nkunku, is like he's probably frustrated with the lack of game time. You know, he coming in and out. You're seeing, with all due respect, like I'm sorry, but Palmer hasn't been performing this season, and the right wing
This
is
whole
Neto, and
season, Palmer's not been performing.
I wouldn't say the whole season, but do you think it's been a great season for Palmer or good season? I think it's been okay.
I think he still is leading the ranks of chances created. He's still a most creative player. If we had a striker up top, Palmer gets more assists probably than last season. And you know the fact that we hold Palmer to his own standards from last year, but come on, mate, this year we needed other players to step up around, and we needed other players to score. We needed our more goals from our wingers, more goals from Jackson, etc. But Palmer still is, you know, and has been great. You look at that poor run in winter, Palmer was the only one that was still scoring goals for us. So take those goals away, mate, we would have been in even more trouble. So you have to take that into consideration.
I blame the performance of the players. A lot of them, like majority of the season, I think Maresca's got it wrong in majority of the time. Because I think if you look at the way it started the season, we know what everyone was saying. Look at our team. We got Madueke scoring goals. We got Jackson scoring goals. Even Sancho was doing well. Enzo was doing well. And all of a sudden, everyone's saying, "Why are we only relying on Palmer?" Hold on. At the start of the season, we weren't only relying on Palmer. We were scoring. Everyone was scoring goals. You know. So I think that comes down to that. But in terms of like players get opportunities or lack of opportunities, I think that's part of the reason why they come in and be like, listen, man, I know no matter what I do here, I'm probably going to get benched the next game. You know, even though Maresca comes out and says certain things and he says differently, he says depending on how you perform and train, we'll play you. But he clearly has his starting team, and I think it's difficult for players to start games once in a blue moon, and them knowing to themselves that no matter how I perform here, hey, good luck, I'm not starting next game. So I think that plays a part as well. But like I said, right now, the way Maresca sees the team, the way his plans for the team, unless he changes it for the upcoming season, if he stays and he achieves his targets, then I don't see Felix having a starting spot. And he will know that himself. He'll probably push himself. He's got a good agent, man. His agent will find him a different move because he's
somewhere else for 6 months. Yeah,
he'll go somewhere else. Yeah, listen, he's probably got the best agent in the game. He's not gonna sit on the bench again for another season. I think he's too good to sit on the bench and be a Conference League player. Unless we get if we get Champions League and obviously, so you got Champions League, you got the Prem, you got the cups, then it's a different story. Then it's a completely different story. Where in a way we're gonna have to be forced to rotate because it's a Champions League, so you're gonna want to have your best players. You're not gonna have play 18-year-olds in the Champions League, you know. So that's where Felix will come in handy. So let's listen. Hopefully, get top 4. Maresca don't bottle it. Then we can have better quality players that play a bit more games. And Nkunku won't get frustrated. Felix won't get frustrated. They can play the big games in the Champions League. They're going to rotate more in the Premier League instead of having one set squad for the Premier League and one set squad for the Conference League. Because I'm sorry, man, you look at our set team for the Conference League, and a lot of those players will be starting in a lot of Premier League teams. You know, how the hell you have Felix and Nkunku starting in a Conference League team? That doesn't look right. So let's hope we get
because of the quality. That's just because of the club we are. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, no matter what players we had, Ziad, we would still have a better squad A and B team than most of the teams, with all due respect, in the Conference League.
Yeah, but it's better if we have that team in the Champions League because then the players will feel better about it as well. You know, they'll be less frustrated. Yeah, at least I'm playing.
You won't rotate like that in the Champions League. You won't have an A team and a B team when it comes to playing in the Champions League. You've got
they get more opportunity though. They'll get more opportunities.
They'll get more opportunity, sure, but I think what we got to realise with Nkunku is for him and for the club, it's made crystal clear that he's not part of the long-term plans here. Nobody's looking at Nkunku and asking themselves where he fits at Chelsea next year, because as soon as a good offer comes in for him, he's a gone player, mate. He's not. And the fact, you know, I think he is a bit unlucky as well. And had it been any other club move, he maybe gets more minutes and he kind of is a key player, but it's just the way it is. He wasn't considered a number 9, but then he was considered a number 9 because he was behind in the pecking order, and a backup to Nicholas Jackson. So like, where'd you fit him in the team? But again, I don't really blame him for not really wanting to play anymore, or like not looking motivated. I mean, he's been considered for sale last year, this year, and again, a good offer comes in, he's gone. So I don't think that he's going to be necessarily motivated by this ideology of playing Champions League football next year. Again, he's just probably a player that wants a good move. He's not exactly in the younger age bracket anymore. He's not exactly old. He could still afford to be playing at another club, regularly getting minutes. But I think it's just clear as day that Nkunku, I don't think mentally is in it anymore at Chelsea, and I think the club as well have made it crystal clear that he'll get minutes here and there, maybe kind of see us out. Obviously, Nicholas Jackson's injury has meant a little bit more playing time for him, but other than that, I was actually surprised to see the blue balloon. I thought he abandoned the blue balloon. I thought he was like, nah, do you know what? This is never coming out again.
I thought it was fuming out. He's like, you know what? But I'm surprised even that he celebrated. I thought he was just going to walk off and be like, yeah, you know what? You lot do one, man. You disrespected me.
Yeah. And again, you can't blame him. This is where we all do look at the hierarchy and think, we have to have a better we have to have a better strategy here of what are these players being told when they're coming in? Because Nkunku, certainly, like, we were in for him. Didn't we sign him like a year before he actually came? Or like at least we did, right? And I think, at that point, everyone was so excited, and we were like, we're going to have this player Nkunku coming for us. And everybody thought, I know at least I did, that he would be like a first team player, like a regular starter. And again, someone that we could maybe try and build the team around a little bit, because again, of the experience he had, the numbers, again, he was scoring a lot more at Leipzig. And I just think that coming into Chelsea, what was he told? Like, what was he promised? Because I certainly don't think it was, you're going to be a backup to, this young striker that has had half a good season in La Liga and has scored a few goals. And that's the thing that you have to ask yourself. So, of course, now, if a few players are losing a little bit of motivation, or are kind of, seeing that what was promised at the start isn't necessarily what's actually in practice in this current moment, well, you can't really blame them. But I think Nkunku, I do feel sorry for him.
Yeah, I mean, listen, even last season when he came off the bench a couple of times, even though he barely played, when he did come off the bench or he started the odd game, he scored a goal. Like, I remember Wolves away, he came on and scored. Liverpool, there was a couple of games where he had good bright moments, and we're like, you know what? Even coming into this season, because of what he did coming off the bench last season, we're like, that's it. He's going to do well. He's going to play. He's going to start. But listen, the manager has his way. He has his preference. And I think even people say about even when he's performed, he's looked rubbish. Listen, we don't want to make this all about the manager, but I just think the players we've been talking about right now, and Nkunku and Felix, is that even Palmer to a certain extent, I think these kind of players, you've got to give them freedom. You can't put them in a little hole and say, listen, stick in this certain way of playing and must perform. You got to give them a freedom. Palmer spoke about it last season about as much as we dislike Poch. He said he gave me the freedom. He gave me the freedom to do what I want.
I mean, because you bail him out every game. So of course he did.
no, but listen, you got when you got quality players, I'm sorry, like, you can't restrict them to certain things and certain movements and certain positions they can pick up and whatnot. I just don't think when certain kind of players, you got to let them do what they want. You got to put them on the pitch and let them perform. And of course, if they don't perform, it's a different story. But I think when you got certain players that you put them in a little bubble that they can't leave, and they feel restricted, or they feel like they can't enter certain parts of the pitch or whatnot, then I don't think you get the best out of them. Which is why I mentioned Palmer. Which, yes, his stats may be great, and he obviously still probably our best player even in this season. But I just don't think he's been wow. I think he's that quality player that will still end up getting the assists and the goals and the contributions. But I think if you even to the eye, I don't think he's performed that well. And I just think Maresca's got to tweak some things and not have this happen again. Because you sign in another player, you sign in like someone like Leao, who's a winger, so it's slightly different, and he's different to the tens of Nkunku and Felix. But I think in the future, signing certain players, if you want to put them into a certain restriction level, you're asking for help, because a lot of players don't perform that way. you know.
But then what happens if you let all these players roam free and have their freedom when they've all just arrived at the club and are only figuring things out? Does that not call for absolute
No, obviously,
chaos?
obviously, there's a certain level to it, but I think Nkunku's been here. He's been here long enough, man. He's here. He's adapted. He's ready. Obviously, I'm not saying like you can't just ignore what the manager has to say, but I think to a certain degree, you got to give them a bit of freedom. You got to let them express themselves. You got to let them, collect the ball, and make decisions for themselves. Not okay. I've got the ball now. I'm this, good quality player. I'm not going to sit and act like Nkunku's a bad player. Good quality player, but hold on. He's got to make that run, so I've got to pass to him now. And all of a sudden, we look like robots passing in and out, whereas he wants to probably collect the ball and play football and enjoy himself. These players that they play at the best when they're enjoying themselves. So yeah, we'll see what happens, but I don't see anything changing. I think shown that he won't change, sadly.
Yeah, well, so back to Joao Felix. I think, are we going to just have to accept that we need to cut our losses with Felix and it just literally wasn't ever meant to be? I mean, the first time he came in, again, kind of the thing is when we signed Joao Felix the first time on like the most expensive loan, I think we were all so desperate to see just something remotely interesting on the pitch. Our football had become so dire, it was so boring, it was the same thing week in, week out. And just to have a techie player do some tricks and flicks on the pitch, and we were like, yes, like you are the one we've been missing. Like when he came on in his debut against Fulham, that was his debut, right? When he got sent off.
Yeah.
And he like skilled a few players. We were like, wow, like there he is. He's come to save us. And again, I think we signed him at a time where we were just so desperate to see something like that he almost lived up to those expectations. So we were a little bit blinded by the fact that, he's not really the most clinical finisher. And, he'll do those things, but I think what we need at Chelsea and we've needed for the longest time is because we've been so void of having an out-and-out number 9 and a striker. We've just needed all those players in the attacking positions to step up and score us goals. Otherwise, we're in trouble. But I still raised my eyebrows when Joao Felix came in this summer because I thought, last summer rather, because I thought, it was nowhere near a target. He wasn't even kind of the type of player that we were looking for. I mean, all of us were still calling for a striker. Even in summer, we were obviously linked with A, B, and C. But Felix kind of came out of the blue, and it was almost, I still believe to this day, facilitated by the fact that it meant Conor Gallagher was able to go. And it was sort of part of the agreement. So we all kind of pretended like, yeah, Joao Felix was on the target list. He was, guys. I don't buy into that personally. But yeah, okay, fine. He comes in again. And I think it's just the same story. And again, you kind of have to look at patterns here. And I do believe in patterns. How many moves does a player need to really, and I know it's kind of unfair to say 6 months isn't enough time for every player, especially one that moves across different leagues, to settle into their environment. But when you're not favorited really anywhere you go, and in no team could you really maybe find a place for yourself to be built around and to complement your team, then you have to ask yourself some questions. And again, I think that he also has it tougher because he's arguably gone into a very difficult season for Milan. I think they're like 8th or 9th in Serie A and, are having troubles of their own. So they're probably looking at players that have come in like Felix to, again, maybe level them up a little bit, show them something. And when that doesn't happen, of course, again, it calls for disappointment. So very, very unlucky, I think, in that respect. And I think, maybe set him up to fail even more, bringing him back the second time. But, he was well and over truly done at Atletico as well. But just a very unlucky player, just full stop. But I mean, where do you see Felix? Like, in what team do you see Felix? Because certainly I struggle to think of a team in the Premier League. Maybe I don't even know. Where do you see Felix being a player that is a first team player, has the team kind of built around him, and is a player that thrives and plays game in, game out, not a bench player?
I mean, if you want to think about the Premier League, I mean, look at it. I mean, I still think you go into Arsenal and play. I think you go into Arsenal.
You could think you could. Where
I
would
think
you
their
play?
attackers are shocking. Their attackers are shocking. He could play on the left or top. Their attackers are shocking. I mean, if you look at a Havertz, do me a favor. Like, let's be real. Use Tottenham, obviously.
Fans wouldn't have that.
Huh?
Arsenal fans wouldn't have that.
Well, they begged for him when we got him the first time, but we beat him to him. You say obviously Tottenham. Could you say Man United? But like, a lot of these clubs don't have good attacks, you know.
But then again, that's you saying that Joao Felix is someone that walks into an attack and levels them up in some way, when actually I don't think he really does.
You don't think he levels them up? I think he levels them up. Listen,
Again,
don't get me wrong. I
I'm
agree with
talking
you.
output here, Ziad, because again, I think there's far too many players nowadays that can do what Joao Felix can do in terms of that flair that you keep going on about.
That's the thing. I don't think it is,
Rafael,
though.
yeah, I know he's a different player, but like we're talking currently about Rafael Leao potentially coming to Chelsea. Well, again, I'd argue that I'm not too sure I trust a Leao because he's got flair to him. He can make something out of nothing and, you know, beat his man and take it up until the end. But when it comes to that kind of output, and I know he's dropped off a little bit after some good seasons, but again, it's that kind of inconsistency. And I think Chelsea more than ever now just needs a player that's consistent in what they provide and contribute, because we've got so many players that have come in recently or that are what ifs, and that, you know, we always say, oh, they need time and they need this and that, but I don't really want to bring in players that I'm not. And there is obviously no guarantee in football. Of course, you can't absolutely guarantee a player is going to be what you envision them to be. There's always a risk with everyone, and I think Chelsea knows it better than anyone with the players that we've brought in our history. But again, just someone that can come in and doesn't actually have that much of a risk factor to them, because yeah, I'm tired of saying, oh yeah, he's got great skills and this and that, but you know, off the ball he doesn't track back and this, and I'm worried about his consistency. And I think when come this summer, we need to be very, very strategic in the signings we make. So I guess we can swiftly move on then and talk about Rafael Leao potentially. Does he upgrade Chelsea?
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Oh, there we go. Ziad, I'm loving this combo, mate, because we're so
100%.
differing and contrasted, and we'll bring people into the chat. So yeah, at least this makes it interesting. Go on then, mate.
Oh, serious player.
Serious player.
100%. Serious footballer, serious baller, like they like to say. But listen, Leao comes in and walks into our team. You know, you got Sancho on the left, who I like as well, someone that I really wanted for a long time. But apart from that, yeah, we've got Mudryk, who is probably best not to comment on that guy. But Leao, listen, he's got a lot of attributes, but I just think maybe mentally he's sadly, you know, with a lot of these players, the money gets to the head, and I think they get complacent. And I think he's in his comfort zone. I think you take Leao out of his comfort zone and ask him to actually go back to the old levels. I think he can. You know, he's got the physical attributes. He's got pace. He can score. You know, even times he's played in striker before. He's skillful. He's strong. Listen, but the only problem is with Leao, that's been for many years for many clubs, is his price tag. I think they slapped a release clause on him for like 120 million pounds or something like that. So this is why he never made that move, because Leao is not a new player. Everyone's been going over and talking about Leao for many years. He's nothing new. It's nothing that's just come up. But I don't know if it's actually serious interest, or like we mentioned earlier, is it just Felix has gone there, we don't want him, so can we get Leao in return? But at the same time, we are looking for a winger. We do need a winger. I think if you look at our winger options now, Madueke is probably gone in the summer with Esteban coming. But mainly a left winger we probably need. I think right wing we're fine, especially because you've got Sancho that can play there, Neto, and you've got Esteban coming in, that's fine. But the left wing, you pretty much only got Sancho, unless I'm missing someone. But from what I can understand, it's only Sancho. So we do need a left winger, someone that offers something different, who's more of a attacking presence and is more of a threat in front of goal than any of our wingers that we've got now. But the issue will be probably his wages, and the issue will be the price tag.
What do you think he's worth currently? If you had to give him a price tag, what do you think he is worth right now?
You know, the market is finished. So,
well, yeah, that's true, of course. Like talk about in this current market. I mean, wingers nowadays, they cost ridiculous money. Doesn't really matter, especially that when there's a shortage and there's clubs competing for him, which I think there will be. That will certainly come into play, because there will be multiple clubs that probably go in for him. So that will play a part. But realistically, I mean, what's too ridiculous for him?
The question that I need to double check is, how old is Leao? And Leao is 25.
Yeah.
He's only 25. He's turning 26 in the summer. So he's got his prime ahead of him.
He's got his prime ahead of him, yeah. So you think that he could get better than what he currently has shown, or his best season?
25. He's plenty of time.
So yeah, players, because they hit their peak at 30, don't they?
Yeah.
26, 27. Yeah.
I think you got a good deal if you get him for 75 million.
Okay, so you're not worried that he's potentially dropped off this season, and maybe
I think he's dropped off because he's in his comfort zone. I don't think they've he's not expected to do much more. I think, and like we mentioned, AC Milan's not been a great team, but when they've been playing well and they did well and the team was playing well, he was mad. He was crazy. A couple of years ago, this player was crazy, and you don't lose that. You don't lose that. You just got to find someone to get it back out of you and give someone that
change of environment, come into the Premier League, rejuvenate him. Yeah,
it's still, I think maybe it's slightly similar to Rashford at United, just without the politics and without the headache. Get him out of there. As soon as Rashford's gone into Aston Villa, he's doing skills, step overs, nutmegs. You feel like he wants to.
You do love the flair and the step overs and the skills, isn't it, Ziad? That's all you need, mate. You see the step overs, you're like, yes, he's a baller. Play him, sign him up.
Leao's a good player. Leao's a good player. Forget the step overs. Leao's a good player. Yeah. And I think if you look at the current market, I think for what he's done, I think if you get him for 70, 75 million.
75.
I don't think how much do we get Mudryk for? Please, for the love of God, we got Mudryk for how much? Who went something like that? We can think of so many deals, even in the previous summer, that just like the market is just finished. So 75 million sounds like a lot, but in this current market, it's really.
But for what he's done this season, I certainly think that mark that should drop. I don't think he'd be worth more than 55 to 60 million right now. He shouldn't be.
If you get him for that much, no problem. But I wouldn't walk away from the table if AC Milan was saying 70 million. I would. Yeah, and you look at the current market. If you look at the current market, we need a left winger that can score goals. Okay, we need someone. If you look at the current market, you say, okay, no to Leao, do one. Who you're gonna get? You're gonna get another Mudryk. You're gonna get another up-and-coming winger. Because are you gonna take any serious winger in the Premier League? You're not gonna go to one of the big clubs and take their left winger off them. You're not gonna go to even in the Premier League or in other leagues. You're not gonna go up to them and say, yeah, give me your winger. If it's not Leao that looks like it's a good opportunity to go for, it's probably going to be another unknown. Yeah, what can he offer? What has he done? And you talk about experience. I think Leao's got that experience. He's played in the Euros, played the World Cup. Did he win? Yeah, I'm pretty sure he won the league with AC Milan. He's played in the Champions League before. He's even that season where AC Milan went quite far in the Champions League. So listen, look.
I think you have a point in the fact that if we've signed wingers with much, much less experience and a pretty much non-existent CV for heaps of money, then you can justify paying more money for Leao, who at least has, some numbers in a couple seasons to back that up for, because again, there's a little bit more of he's been there, done that at least. Maybe whether he comes to Chelsea and replicates that, different story. But, we've so far been shooting in the dark and bringing in players that really have just had maybe half a season. And that's kind of the philosophy we've really believed in. And that's what the model kind of is, right? So, yeah, but people in the chat, Chelsea fans, let us know if you'd bring Rafael Leao into Chelsea this summer if you had the opportunity, and how much is too much to pay for a player like Leao. But yeah, we're halfway through the show, guys. There's just about 50 of you, so please hit that like button if you haven't done so already. What are we on right now? 25 likes. So can we run those up and get to at least 40? Hit that like button, guys. It would just take you a couple seconds. But yeah, let us know, yes or no, Leao to Chelsea in summer. And of course, what do we do with Felix? Yeah, I still agree with that. I do 100%. Agree with that.
100%. That Felix thing was all to get Gallagher out. The club made out, even Fabrizio. Fabrizio is the worst one, because he came out and started talking about how the owners were so impressed with the Felix in the first stage, and they really wanted him. That's clearly not true, because then the owners wouldn't get rid of him for 5 million just for a loan deal. So I think Fabrizio is getting I know a lot of people love the brown envelope, so I think that's what he's doing, sadly.
Yeah, well, there's a few yeses and there's a few no's, and I guess again it's just one of those things. If you can trust that young players of barely any experience are good enough to sign, then maybe you go. And then I guess that counts as experience a little bit, doesn't it? Like Leao, you can say has a bit more experience than, you know, half of our other players in terms of a bit more.
He would be our most experienced attacker.
Yeah, no, certainly, yeah. But yeah, no, it's an interesting one. It's an interesting one. And again, I think when it comes to summer, we're literally going to need to look at players that immediately upgrade our team, because we've got too many of those what if players. Give them another season, give them another couple seasons. We can't afford that. You know, we've gone through too much time now where we've given players time. It should be coming together now, right? Like, we shouldn't be making any more signings. You got obviously Esteval coming in. Again, he's got enough of, we've all watched the highlights and the compilations. You know, he looks great. Perfect. We'll see how that goes. But I certainly think we need to buy players who have a little bit of experience, can bring some leadership, and can do it instantly, right?
100%. 100%. Listen, Leao's a statement signing. I think if he goes to any other club, if he goes to United, on Arsenal, I think Chelsea fans will be like, oh my God, wow, serious player, serious signing. United are doing well, or Arsenal are doing well. It's a statement signing. But for Chelsea, they would have said, no, why should we? Let's go get another 15-year-old. No, you got to understand that it's realistically, I know obviously the scouts are there to do their jobs, but I really honestly think it's Leao, or you go all the way down to another, you know, someone that's nowhere near as proven or experienced. You know, you got a couple good names in the chat. You say, you know, Semenyo and Kudus, but Kudus ain't gonna come and start playing left wing. You know, he could play there on the left, but I still think he's probably better off on the right. And Semenyo, okay, from what I know, what this season, one season with Bournemouth, all of a sudden you want him to come in and perform at the highest level at Chelsea. Listen, people need to understand that sometimes we've seen it so many times with managers. Sometimes the players are just, that's their level, you know, that's their level. Graham Potter, Brighton, mate, West Ham, good for you. Not Chelsea. That's it, done. Certain players that they make that big step into the big club and they just can't hack it. They can't. Whereas with Leao, he's played in the Portugal first team. He's played with the quality players. He's played on the biggest stages in the World Cups and the Euros and the Champions League, winning the league in Italy. You know, he can come to the Premier League and hack it. I think, would you rather go for that, or would you rather go for Semenyo, for example, who, let's not act like he's going to be 20 million. Bournemouth are going to be like, give us all that. Give us probably 60 million, especially if they're in Europe. If they end up getting Europe, they're going to want the same. So I think you got to pick what you want. You want to, you know, mock the club this whole time for signing these kids and unproven players and whatnot. But the opportunity we get to go and get someone who's better and more proven, you still want to go and get that unproven player. So I think you gotta pick your poison.
Yeah, that's where the stubbornness comes from, right? That's one of my biggest problems with this kind of structure, that they're so stubborn in the fact that they really want these young players to prosper and come together and be a team that competes for things eventually. But you set them up from the get-go to fail when you didn't actually bring in anyone that they can learn from. Like, this is the thing, you can't be like that. This is football. It's a sport. It's like with anything in life, you need people that you can learn from. And I keep saying this, you know, you have so many ex-pros coming out and saying this, that from their own experience, it was so important to have those leaders around them. You don't have to just be a leader, just someone who knows what the club's about, what it takes to be competitive, what it takes to win out a knockout game, what it takes to like proceed into the next stage of a competition. And like, we don't have that. So of course it's so hard to like look at these players. Like I keep saying, you look at the Brighton game where they knocked us out the cup. Well, they all kind of just agreed mutually that they were done. They were already out by minute 70. Like, there was no kind of urge, or there was no one to say, like, I guarantee if Thiago Silva was on the pitch that day, he would have literally said, pull your socks up and fight for that equalizer so we can at least go into extra time here. Like, we're not losing this game. Do you know what I mean? And nobody's there to do that. And, you know, I love Palmer, I love Reece James, but I still think that it's so important to have players that are vocal, that can do more. And Reece is, but he's kind of the only one, right? And even still, they're like, love Reece, he's vocal, like he will go over, have words with the ref, of course, like captain duties and all, like he will talk to his players, like don't get a silly yellow, don't get a red. But again, just someone that's shouting stuff out from the back, someone that ties everyone in. We don't have that. And I think that's literally where recruitment fell short. It's why people are unhappy. It's why people are angry. And what will make me even more angry, and it will be like, right, enough is enough, I mean, not ready enough is enough, but in summer, if we continue to go down this route of signing young, unproven players, then I just know that, you know, this is nothing more than just trying to buy players and hopefully making a profit out of them. I literally, like, even in January when we made the loans we did, well, we all knowingly stripped our squad down and took players out just so that they could go off and potentially have a remaining good season so that their market value could go up. Obviously, that's flopped with Joao Felix, we already know, but some of your other loans, right? They're going to hope that they get some more minutes that they won't get at Chelsea for sure, and their price tags will go up so we can maybe move them on in summer. You know, if there's options to buy, etc., that happens and we insure it, and then we generate money to go and spend more. Because I think actually we need to generate money because we don't have the money we did at least, and it's going to be so important for them to make profits on these players, and I just don't see how that actually betters our football currently in this present moment. But yeah, no, it's going to be tough. I think a lot of questions come this summer will need to be answered, and we'll see exactly how much they are thinking about the squads currently, because again, I think thinking about the future, thinking about profits and thinking about players' prices, it all kind of sacrificed and neglected the present moment and how we're doing right now. Hence why we're seeing so much suffering in terms of inconsistent results, player performances, in and out, hot and cold, and it just simply can't continue, right? Let's see what some of you guys are saying in the chat here. Bruce says, with the squad we have right now, we are in talks of finishing in the top 4. Imagine what we could do with Leao. So I guess Bruce is absolutely all... Well, yeah, you're for Leao coming to Chelsea. Mark says, why can't we play Jackson on the left wing and actually go and buy a striker? Like, we need Leao pants. How many goals he's got this season? What do you make of this one?
No. Listen. Both. Get a striker and Leao. Forget this. Only one of the two. You go get a striker and you go get Leao. We've seen this club go buy Caicedo and Lavia within one window when we thought it was going to be one of them.
Yeah.
They buy Enzo Fernandez, Caicedo, and Lavia in the space of 6 months?
It's also quite mad that, you know, obviously we knew that players like wingers would come this year, last year as well. We obviously signed a few in summer, but like you would have said last year at the end of the window that we were so stacked up in the winger department. And here we are now saying that we need to go out and get another winger, at least a goal scoring one, because certainly Sancho, Neto, even Madueke as of recent have not had great output. You know, I really wish that's more. And I think it's also up to just the way we've been playing sometimes, and certainly lacking that kind of target man. I think that has robbed so many numbers, certainly this year. Like Neto, I believe, would have double the amount of assists he already does. I don't even think there's very many of them, but he'd certainly have a greater assist tally because behind Palmer, for me, best crosser in the team. Sancho, he needs to shoot more. Just trust yourself, mate. Like, too much dilly-dallying. And another, I guess you probably love Sancho because he's got flair, don't you, Ziad?
Yeah,
he's got flair. He does the tricks of flicks.
Man.
He's a nice player to watch. You know, he can sometimes just glue the ball to his feet and kind of get out of tight spaces. But when it comes to that final decision, do you shoot? Do you cross? Do you square? What do you do? He kind of makes the wrong decision sometimes. So we need that to improve as well. Palmer, I mean, we know what Palmer is like for us. I think he's been unlucky recently with his chances missed, just going through a little bit of a bad patch. But if any player's allowed to have one, it's Palmer, right? He's allowed to have the bad patch. But you look at, you know, at Southampton, he could have had a hat trick in that first half. But, you know, just a bad day, but he'll be back. I love Palmer. He just, for me, still is and is so great for us. I do worry. I do worry about him in terms of just his future long term. But I think that's something we all kind of have at the back of our minds, isn't it? But without Palmer, Ziad, this season, we'd be in a much worse position. So I don't know why you think that, you know, he's not been... you didn't say, I don't want to put words in your mouth. You didn't say he's not been great, but you certainly said that he's been... What was the word you used?
Listen, I just don't think he's been amazing. Yeah, I think my point was, I think this whole season I was asking him to go on the right wing and get Nkunku or Felix in the 10. That's all I was ever wanted, because I just don't think in this specific system he suits the way or he's just the way Maresca wants to play. I just don't think. I think he's too restricted in that 10 position, the way Maresca wants to play himself. I first noticed it when I went to what game was it? I think it was a Wolves at home, and everyone was like, "Why are we only relying on wingers? What's everyone doing? We've got no one up front. We're only relying on wingers. You know, they're not doing enough. Why is Noni not scoring? Why is Sancho not scoring?" I was like, okay. And I sat right behind them in the first half, Matthew Harding, looking right at them. There's nothing going on. There's nothing going on. Palmer gets the ball in the middle, goes around the circle, and gives it back to the wingers. Wingers got to take on about 4 or 5 players, and they still expected to score or create. Madueke is not Hazard. Sancho is not Hazard. Hazard was the player, you give it to him, and it's like, you know what, do what you want. Take on 3 players, and he'll still score, and he'll still get assists. He'll still create something from nothing. These wingers we got are not at that level, right? And the way you see Palmer playing is that it was clear as day. He gets the ball, and he's got nowhere to go. He's too restricted. He's got no options. He's got no one to link up play with. He's got literally the only option he's got is to go back outside to the right winger or left winger, where he originally got the ball from. So I'm just thinking, like, it just doesn't suit him. You need someone in the 10 that's going to offer something different. You know, that's as soon as someone like Felix come off the bench, you know it's a difference straight away. I noticed it straight away. He's someone that collects the ball. He will drop deep and collect the ball on the half turn, link up play, attract defenders, create fouls, and we scored from the free kick. I can't remember what game Reece James scored from the free kick. It might have been Bournemouth. You know, all of a sudden you see something different. You see a 10 that's willing to collect the ball, willing to win a foul for the team and link up play properly. And I just don't see Palmer doing that, which is why I wanted him not benched. Just put him on the right.
Palmer wins so many fouls, mate. Is this
Yeah,
what it's
in our own box? In our own box. That's no good. That's no good.
So you think that Felix would be doing a better job than Palmer in his current position right now?
I think the Chelsea team is a better team with Felix on the 10 and Palmer on the right winger. I think as a whole, you've got a better Chelsea team.
There's no other player I trust in that position more than Palmer. Felix would concede too much possession in that position.
You know, it's not illegal to play Palmer right wing. That was his position last season.
Absolutely, yes, but I still think that you take a player out when you play him on the wing because he is the best in his position currently right now. So for me, you're weakening the team by playing him on the wing because you could play someone else on the wing because he creates so much more in that 10 and he can also shoot and he scores goals from there and he can control us from that position. Because again, when we concede possession in that position, it is so easy to hit us on the break. We are so easy to overturn sometimes because again of how exposed we are there. So again, I don't agree with that. I think last year, yeah, certainly it worked, but this year I think, you know, if our wingers create well, if they actually can score more goals and they can get more crosses off to someone who's finishing in the box, trust me, then that would be coming through so much more. Yeah, Mark, glad to see you agree. No one in the box to put the crosses away. So again, yeah, we spam crosses, but actually they don't really seem to go to anyone. But that's where we need our wingers to step up as well and score more goals. Abel says might be an unpopular opinion, but what about Guirassy in Dortmund? He really does well with his last season stats with Dortmund not making Champions League. It's possible to get him on a good price. Yeah, I mean, he's having some great numbers, isn't he? I think I saw a stat that behind Haaland in one season, he scored the most goals for Dortmund or something like that in one campaign. But what a player, certainly. And I think they've signed him for a pretty small fee as well. So that could certainly be a good shout. I don't think it's an unpopular opinion. Fofana and Brady Shill back. Yeah, look, guys, as we sort of come to the last segment of the show, I would like to kind of draw our attention to the kind of remainder of the season because we're not far off, guys. We are nearly there, and it's a tough run for Chelsea. We've obviously got some midweek Conference League action against Copenhagen. First leg is away, of course. But following that, some tricky games. I'm looking past Leicester because in my head, Leicester's 3 points. No if, buts, or maybes. Don't even really care how we get the job done. That's 3 points. I'm looking further ahead. We've got Arsenal after that, away at the Emirates. One of my most painful games I've been to, 5-0 at the Emirates last year. I've chosen to kind of put that at the back of my mind. But yeah, like Ziad, end of the season, tough run for Chelsea. Are you worried?
No, not really worried. I mean, I'm not
No.
gonna lie, I did see our last few games, and I was like, okay, bloody hell, our last few games is quite difficult. But listen, Maresca, man, you got a big job. This is Chelsea Football Club, not Leicester. If you don't get top four, pack your bags, mate. Because if I see Nottingham Forest or I don't know who, man, bloody Brighton, whoever it may be, get top four over us, I think it's a sackable offence. As simple as that. No matter how difficult our games might be, listen, you come into Chelsea, you got to do the bare minimum to stay the next season. If you can't do the bare minimum, then why should you stay? You know, and a lot of people going on about the sport directors, these owners, they don't want top four. They want top four in about 3 years. I don't know where you get the information from. Honestly, I don't know where you get your information from. I think you got a couple of people on Twitter, there's a couple of big accounts on Twitter that everyone sees them tweet, oh my God, they don't want top four. And then all of a sudden they're following them. Obviously, we're not going to mention names because we keep it civil here. But end of the day, Maresca clearly got his words mixed up because he came out and said, I never said that. I never said we don't want top four. We should be getting top four. Well, a couple of weeks ago, he's saying the owners told me we need top four in 2 years. Whatever, man. Listen, just get top four now. I don't care what the owners told you. We are telling you as fans that you need to get top four. Otherwise, there's no need for you to be here coming the summer. We'll get someone else. But that's not only for him. That's the sporting directors as well. The sporting directors need to get packing as well if we don't get top four. That's what your third manager you've hired, and he's failed again to get top four. You've hired 3 managers, and they all failed to get Champions League football at Chelsea Football Club. I'm sorry, you can pack your bags. The manager can pack your bags, and then we move on from there. We start again. We start again with proper sporting directors. We start again with another manager, and we go again next season. And listen, it's going to be sickening. I'm honestly sickening. If I don't want to go another season without playing Champions League. What is going on here? My whole life I've seen us play Champions League, winning the Champions League, bloody hell, and all of us we're struggling years on, and to not even get into the Champions League, not even play a couple games. What's happening? That can't be right. That can't be right. You know, that can't be right. So we got to change something. Something needs to change. And I'm sorry, maybe Maresca, listen, maybe it's a bit unfair for you because we had Potter here and we had Pochettino here. So because we're fuming with them, you know, we're not giving you that much patience. But listen, I'm sorry, Bournemouth, Brighton, Newcastle, Nottingham Forest, none of these clubs should be beating you to top four. None of them. It might even be top 5. It might be top 5. You know, so you say you got Arsenal, you got Liverpool, and you got Man City in the top 3, whatever order. You're telling me there's 2 other clubs in the Premier League that will be getting top 4 over you, or Champions League football over you, if it's top 5. That's ridiculous. That can't run. And it's Maresca's. You did well to start, but you couldn't continue it. You couldn't continue it. So that's the way I stand, man. You gotta achieve it. Whether hard games, whether it's difficult run or not, the season is the season. You know, we shouldn't be at the stage where, oh my God, we might not get top 4 because of the couple last games of the season. It's a season.
You said that you're not worried, but what worries me is the fact that I calculated this the other day because I had a look at the run. We, out of 7 of those games that we've still got to play, only got 6 points in our good run of form. 6 points out of 7 games, that was. So possible 21, I believe.
Yeah.
That's mad because we were in a good run of form. Is that not worrying? It is quite worrying.
It might be worrying because we might not be getting Champions League football, but
we had more depth on our bench then too, actually.
Well, listen, I'm not worried because I'm just sitting back and be like, manager perform. Yeah, it's a bit of a sink or swim. I'm just here to watch you sink or swim. You know, I'm just sitting back, relaxing. You either sink or you swim. If you sink, bye. If you swim, good on you. You're here for next season. You know, either way, I'm not changing. I'm not changing. No matter what you do, I'm not going to change the way. A lot of people would be changing their requirements and their standards throughout the season. Listen, the standards were set at the start.
Absolutely.
You get Champions League football, you win the Conference League, and you win one of the cups, the Carabao Cup or the FA Cup. You failed miserably in the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup. Listen, mate, you're already, you know, you're already in the danger zone. You're already in the danger zone, already there. So if you're not gonna at least get Champions League football and the Conference League, which is we shouldn't even mention. I'm not even gonna celebrate that. No Chelsea fan should go to that final. Don't even go to the final. Don't even go to that final. Stay at home, watch it at home, or watch it in the pub or something. Because even if we win that, I'm not even gonna celebrate that rubbish. But get Champions League, and we go into next season in the summer, and we go to the summer, we get that striker, we get that Rafael Leao, we bring back a Esteval, we bring back maybe a Santos, maybe we shine a centre back, and then we go again next season. But if you can't be the man to get us top 4 now, when we're struggling, but you want all the nice rewards of Esteval serious baller and a Santos serious baller, and you want that big new striker, and no. Do the bare minimum at Chelsea, then we can provide you. Other than that, man, do one, mate.
Oh, yeah. No, I agree. Absolutely. The standards were there at the start. They didn't change throughout the season. They are still very much there. And it's possible. Like, if you look at it, we've been quite lucky in the fact that where we have tripped up, other teams have tripped up as well in and around us. Like, the margin is so thin between sort of top 10. Well, not really top 10, but 3rd to 10th. And you can actually see that it could really go either way, but I don't really want to be counting on other teams slipping up and dropping points. We need to be actually going and winning these games. We need to be coming out. I mean, it's all up to Maresca now, but he needs to figure out something a little bit different. Like, he's already kind of done with Neto. That's working. I'd encourage that because I think that could really change things up in a good way. We've become really predictable to teams, and I think most of those teams that are looking at us in those remaining fixtures are probably thinking that's one of our easier games. That's sad. It should never be the case. You should never look at Chelsea and think that's an easy game. Our history would be ashamed. So we really do need to come up with something a little bit different, a little bit refreshing. But yeah, Champions League football is an absolute must. Okay, let's talk briefly about Copenhagen. Is that an easy job away at Copenhagen?
Copenhagen, whatever that is. Yeah, listen, you've got. I can't believe we're talking about Copenhagen, but listen.
Well, you could argue this is one of the most difficult teams to have right now, as in to have into the lead up to the finals. If we beat them, surely,
Listen, just win that cup, man. I've watched about one Conference League game this whole season. Just win the cup. No difficult games, none of that rubbish. Just go and walk all over them. Just simple as that. Okay. Just do your job. It's simple as that. Champions League, Premier League, whatever. Just do your job. People want to talk about the Premier League and top 4 and whatnot. Yes, that's fine. You must do that. Everyone talk about this season. How this is a terrible season. Like a lot of people are talking about. Yeah, this is Barclays Premier League because Brighton are doing well and Bournemouth are doing well. We have like 2 wins in 10 and we are 2 points off 3rd. That's unheard of.
But that's because so many teams have been inconsistent themselves.
Right. But then, let's be real. 2 wins in I don't think people can comprehend what I'm saying. We have won 2 games out of the last 10 and we are 2 points off 3rd position. That is unheard of. And for you to be in that position and still not get Champions League football, even though it shows how bad the rest of the league is. No, I'm sorry, man. You just do your job, get Champions League, finish your season properly, get Champions League, win the Conference League, and then we'll go again in the summer. We go back to square one in the summer, and we address the issues. And I wonder where the protests will be as well. I wonder if we get protests if we get Champions League football. That'll be interesting.
Oh, that sent off a little bit of spite, Ziad there. You got something to say, mate? Say it here. Say it now.
I just think there will be one. There won't be one. When's the next protest, guys? When's the next planned protest? When we lose or when we win?
You do realize that this is a lot bigger than just the results and just the fact that we've dropped off in terms of performances.
Nina, come on, Nina.
Ziad, it's a lot bigger than that. If in summer we don't sign some actual real cut-out experience and leadership, this is why. This is why, Ziad. This is why we're unhappy. So you're going to be... Well, you just said that this is still a bad season. I know you're talking about the Premier League in general, but for Chelsea...
No, but what I'm saying is it can't be that serious if they don't know when the next protest is.
Huh?
It can't be that serious if they don't know when their next protest is.
But there will be. There will be. That was just the start.
It can't be that serious if they're gonna go with the flow and be like, let's just see what Chelsea do here, and then we'll see.
It's a lot bigger than just where we're finishing this season. But yeah, that's the conversation for another day. That's a conversation for a different day, guys.
We both go to games. We've got our Chelsea back, Maresca, and all that rubbish. All of a sudden, we go on a losing run. Oh my God, get the owners out. We're £100 million in debt. Okay, man.
But arguably, things were wrong in the good run of form, no? This is what I'm talking about.
where
We
was the
didn't beat a
protest?
top team, and I'm discounting Tottenham here in our good run of form. So what
But where was
actually
the
is really
protest?
good at Chelsea? Well, there wasn't a protest, but there was still discontent, certainly on my end. We should have won those games. We should have been winning games.
Yeah, man. Listen,
Yeah, man.
let's get the protests in.
Anyways, let's just go through another couple comments here before we round this one out. Thank you very much to everyone that has joined and watched. Harshal says 2 billion amount for the Chelsea sale, yet lying frozen in the UK bank account. Yeah, that is tea. We need to strengthen our squad this season or next season, get rid of Sanchez, bring back Petrovic as number one. We got Perez and Esteval coming in, put Palmer, Cam, and sort out Felix situation. Yeah, Jordan, all said easier than done, mate. But Petrovic, just hearing his name still makes me angry. Like Petrovic.
All of a sudden, everyone wants Petrovic back. What are we doing here, man?
Oh, come on, Ziad.
No one wanted the guy.
Petrovic is a better goalkeeper than Sanchez.
He is, but why not go and get a better goalkeeper than sitting?
We can't. What, another goalkeeper on the books? Another goalkeeper like Sanchez on the books? Because they're not going to go out.
Have another idiot in goal.
They're not going to go out and sign an actual good goalkeeper, Ziad. Come on, you know that better than anyone. So why would we not bring in our better goalkeeper?
How everyone that said Petrovic wasn't good enough, you know.
Nobody said Petrovic, but he was better than Sanchez. He certainly wasn't that end.
Better than Sanchez. Everyone's better than Sanchez.
Well, there you go. So why wouldn't you take a guy that's better than?
How about you go and get someone? Numbers? I don't know. Go get someone serious, bro. That's why.
Like even like his 80% accuracy in a game, I don't think our goalkeepers have even 50% of accuracy in passes in a game currently.
Strasbourg.
Doesn't matter. The bar is low, Ziad.
Well, I mean, listen, the fans are booing Jorgensen because of how long he's taken on the ball. So I mean, it looks like they don't have the patience for a good 80% pass accuracy. You know, I'm sure Jorgensen is better than what's his name. Than Petrovic. I think he's better than Petrovic.
You think he's better than Petrovic?
Yeah, man.
All right, mate. Let's round this one out because otherwise, long day for us. Thank you so much to everyone who joined today. Make sure you hit the like button, guys. I'll link mine and Ziad's channels in the description down below. So make sure you subscribe to both of us. Obviously, subscribe to Chelsea Fan TV as well if you haven't done so already. You'll get a stream tonight. It's at 7 p.m. because don't forget, we've got Champions League games tonight. So stream at 7 tonight. Tune in for that, guys. It'll be Charlie on there for you. But have a great week. I will see you most likely Wednesday or Thursday. But yeah, until then, guys, take care. And of course, up the Chels.
Proper Chels. Proper Chels.
Proper Chels.